All right, friends. So welcome back. In this video, we're discussing directory and IO in Python. So basically, how do we get to manage OS directories using Python? In Python, we have the OS module that we can use. It contains, lots of methods that can be applied to performing operating system actions, such as creating directories, right, deleting or renaming directories, changing directory paths and all those stuff. So we are going to be looking at some of these commands, right? We'll be able to use the OS module to work with directories, which is what we also call folders. The OS module basically provides us with, the functions to perform most of these operations as regards directory, as regards directories on, Windows, Unix, and of course on your Mac operating systems. Here are some of the things that we can do. So we just have to say import OS. And when we import OS, we can create a folder by saying os.make directory, right? You can use the first option there, or you can use the second option here. So let's go with the second one, make directory. We can specify the name of that directory. I'm going to call this Marvelous. If I run this file, python3 main.py. Oh, by the way, I should say Python, not Python 3. Okay, so you see we now have a new folder here, and I can as well create another one that can say Ella, for example. If I run this, now you see we have Marvelous and you see we have Ella. I can create even more. I can create Marvelous, Marker. I can also create maybe parent folder for Marker, and also another parent folder for Ella. All right, so if I go ahead and run this, oh yeah, so we have an error. It says, this folders already exist. So let's take that off. Run this now. You see we have a Amaka, Ella, Marvelous, Ella, and yes, we can also create a Marvelous Amaka just like this. Okay, these guys already exist. So let's comment this out for now. Okay, sorry, comment this out, and yeah, let's run this. All right, so now you see we have two subdirectories under this one. We can as well use Python to change the working directory. The command for that would be chdir, not make directory. So this is it. This is used for changing the directory. Okay, and so you use this for changing the work directory. So if I run this again, let's go ahead and take this off for now because we already ran those commands. So let's run this again. We do not have any directory like this called Emanuela, so it's actually Ella. That was a mistake. Let's run this now. And basically what happens here is when we run this command, it basically goes into the Ella directory. Although you can't see that reflected because that is running programmatically, right? When we start chaining, like performing some actions with the OS module, you'll be able to apply that into something more realistic. We have the os.list directory. So I'll show us an example. If we say list directory in here, this is simply going to list the items that we have in here, the directories that we have in here. And of course, we should be able to print that value. So I can say items lists, for example, equals this. All right, and let's print items list. Okay, so if I go ahead and print this now, you see we're able to get all those items that we have within that directory. All right, we also have the command that we can use to check if this is actually the working directory. So I can run this. If it's a working directory, let's save properly first and run this again. We get true, right? True says that, oh yeah, this is a working directory. If it's not, then of course we get it false. All right, let's delete some of these folders that we created in here, and let's look at, I mean, there are so many other actions that we can actually perform with this. I would advise you check out the official Python documentation, check out the OS module, and you see a lot of methods that you can simply apply to your project. Okay, let's discuss the IO module. So the IO module would help us read and write to files, right? So we have a sample command here. I'm going to share that already. So when reading and writing to files, one thing you should understand is we have different modes, right, that we have to specify as parameters when trying to perform this read and write operations. Those parameters would specify what we are trying to achieve exactly. If it's the arrow parameter, that is basically used for reading. If it's the W parameter, that is used for writing files. And we have other parameters that we'll explain shortly. So let's start off with a simple example here. We have a file called file.txt, and we're trying to read that file, obviously, and we're passing the content of the read file into content. First, you have to understand that we don't have this file in here, so we would have to create that using the with keyword. That is basically what we call the context manager in Python. The context manager is basically a keyword that manages the context of the ongoing operation, which is in this case the operation for reading and printing the content of this file. Okay, so we specify the arrow keyword, which makes it obvious that we are trying to read this file. This is the encoding of the file, and we specify this file as f, which is file. It can be anything. It can be a, it can be b, it can be whatever variable that you choose to assign the context to. So here when we say f.read, we are referring to the entire file that is open as f. So the file.read, it reads the content into this variable called contents, and then we'll proceed to print that content. So now I can simply say my name is Marvelous Solomon. Okay, so that is the content of this file. If we go ahead and run our code here, you see it was able to read the entire content in there. I will print out the content to the standard output here, which is our terminal. All right, so similar to the way we can read from a file, we can also write to a file. So I'm going to show us an example of how we write to a file. So this is our sample code. We have the lines that we want to write to the file, which is what we have right here. And we say with open write.txt, which is the file we're going to be writing to. We specify that this is the mode, which is W, which stands for write, and we have our alias here, which is f. Okay, so for line in lines, this is an array, so we're basically iterating through that array, and we are writing these items that we have on each line, basically. Okay, so this is how we basically terminate a specific line, and we'll move on to the next line. So if we go ahead and create this file, which is write.text, let's do that. Write.text txt. Okay, so now we have nothing in that file. If we execute our code here and we check that file again, you see it was able to write this content into the file. So that is how we basically write a file using the IO library that is built into Python. All right, so we can also create a file using the mode with the character X, which says if this file doesn't exist, go ahead and create the file. All right, so if we run this now, let's go back to the terminal. If we run this now, you see that that file was created, and we also have the text written into that file. Okay, which is what we have here. So when you use the X key, it says go ahead and create this file if it doesn't exist. Okay. We also have commands that we can use to verify if a path actually exists. So using the os.path, we can verify if a path exists already. And of course, if it exists, we can say this path already exists. If it doesn't exist, we can actually use this to also create that directory. We can use the os.make directory to create a directory. If it's a file, we can as well write to that file using the X key as the mode, which would automatically create that file. Okay. So if I run this, you see it tells us that the file doesn't exist because obviously that file doesn't exist here. If I create that file, which is the readme.txt, now that file exists. If I run this command again, you see it tells us that the file exists. All right. So we're going to try another example. This time around, we'll use the Python built-in CSV module. So let's go ahead and bring in this code here. We have import CSV, and we're also using the context manager with open data.csv with of course arrow here, which is to read as f. Go ahead and try to perform this action here. So basically we don't have any CSV file in here, but of course we can create one. So I can simply create one to say data.csv, and in here I can just create a comma separated value. So I can have Marriott Mac. Let's save that. Let's come back here. Let's install that package. I'm not using it for now, but let's just have it installed. I'll go ahead and run this file, and now you see we're able to read the content of that file, which is Marv, Marriott, and Mac. All right, so we can also proceed to write into that CSV. Right, we have an example here with the header and the data that should be under the header, right? And we say with open, right, we are basically trying to write into that file. So we create a CSV writer, and in here we write the header. So that is where we write row, we write the header, and here we write the remaining part of the data. All right, so let's come in here, let's take off what we have for now, and we're going to run this code. When we check that CSV file, you see it creates that data for us using the CSV file, and of course with the context manager as well, we are able to read and write to a CSV file. Okay, so if you want to perform a rename action using the OS module, this is what you can do. So we have data.csv. We can simply use the OS module here to say os.rename. We can rename that file to something different this time around. We can just call it file.csv. You see, we have this in the try except block because obviously this can fail. Let's go ahead and run this. You see that our data.csv file have been successfully renamed to file.csv. And of course, finally, we can remove that file. So we can use the os.remove command to take off that file completely. Now that file is file.csv. If we try to remove data.csv that doesn't exist, you see we have an error, and it tells us that the system cannot find the specific file called data.csv. We've renamed that to file.csv. So if I go ahead to run this command now, you see it takes off the file called file.csv. All right, so thanks for watching. In the next video, we are going to be covering object-oriented programming in Python. I'll see you there.